Have you ever found yourself doing something you didn't really want to do, just because everyone else was doing it? Maybe it was laughing at a joke that wasn't funny, or joining in on a viral challenge that felt a bit ridiculous. That pull to fit in is something we call peer pressure. It's a powerful force. Back in 1981, author Todd Strasser wrote a novel called The Wave that explored exactly how far that pressure can go. The story is actually based on a real, deeply unsettling event that happened in a California high school. The story centers around a fictional school, Gordon High. Inside its classrooms, we meet a passionate history teacher named Ben Ross, an independent, bright student named Lori, and Robert, a socially isolated teenager who spends most of his days being bullied. One afternoon, Mr. Ross shows his history class a harsh documentary about World War II. They see the bleak reality of the concentration camps and the massive, disciplined crowds of the Nazi regime. The students are completely shocked. They look at the history and refuse to accept it. They ask their teacher how ordinary, civilized citizens could possibly watch these atrocities happen and do absolutely nothing to stop them. Mr. Ross doesn't have a good answer for them, so he decides the only way to explain it is to show them. He sets up a classroom experiment to demonstrate how the human need to belong can silently override a person's moral compass. The next day, Mr. Ross introduces a new movement to his class called The Wave. He enforces intense discipline. Students sit perfectly straight at their desks and even learn a specific, snappy hand salute to greet each other. You might expect high schoolers to rebel against this. Surprisingly, they love it. The rigid rules erase the usual cliques. Everyone is doing the exact same thing, which makes them feel entirely equal and united. For Robert, the student who usually eats lunch alone, this is a lifeline. Under the rules of The Wave, he is no longer an outcast. He suddenly has friends, a role to play, and a sense of purpose. There is a deep comfort in surrendering your individual identity to a larger collective group. It provides an addictive feeling of community, where you don't have to think for yourself. The group handles the thinking for you. That intoxicating feeling of shared power quickly begins to spread outside Mr. Ross's classroom. Other groups in the school, like the struggling football team, see this unified force and want in on the action. The wave rapidly grows in numbers. Giving up your personal freedom and your ability to question authority doesn't feel like a sacrifice at first. It feels incredibly safe because it is disguised as teamwork. As the wave gains momentum, the desire for unity shifts into a demand for total conformity. If you aren't acting, thinking, and speaking exactly like the rest of the crowd, you're suddenly viewed with suspicion. The consequences of this pressure show up immediately. Non-members are treated as enemies. They are actively isolated, they are pushed away, and ruthlessly bullied. The harassment turns sinister when a Jewish student is targeted for refusing to participate. The group is now acting as an exclusionary gang, using intimidation to enforce its rules. Lori, the independent student we met earlier, sees exactly what is happening. As the editor of the school newspaper, she decides to be brave. She publishes a hard-hitting article exposing the toxic, intimidating behavior of the wave. The response is swift and harsh. For daring to speak out against the crowd, Lori faces intense anger and backlash from her own peers. The tension finally peaks between Lori and her boyfriend, David. David is so invested in defending the wave that he gets into a physical altercation with her, grabbing her in anger. That moment of violence shocks him to his core, making him realize he has been completely brainwashed by the group. In a matter of days, an innocent classroom game destroyed close personal relationships and manufactured an authoritarian mob. All it took was a willing abandonment of critical thinking. Realizing the experiment has spiraled completely out of control, Mr. Ross calls a mandatory rally for all members of the wave. He stands at the front of the auditorium and promises to reveal the true national leader of their movement on a giant screen. The room goes quiet as the projector clicks on. The image on the screen is Adolf Hitler. Mr. Ross delivers a harsh reality check. He tells the students that by blindly following orders, policing each other, and surrendering their freedom for the comfort of the group, they had become the exact thing they thought they hated. This is the reality of authoritarianism. When you give one leader or one strict group total control over your actions, it always leads to the abuse of power. The individual is erased, and only the will of the crowd remains. That novel was written decades ago, but the pressure to conform is just as strong today. We feel it in the trends we follow online, in the opinions we are afraid to share at work, and in our daily desire to just blend in. A wave only has destructive power if all the drops of water move together in the exact same direction. True courage doesn't mean moving with the tide. It means keeping your individuality and having the strength to stand your ground when you know the crowd is wrong.